Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. Thank you for joining us on the CAM webinar series for today. So before I start, I would like to share my screen. Okay, so today we will have a CAM AI Hub webinar series 2024 with the title of Reimagining Education in the Age of AI with Professor Dr. Narayanan Anak Lelaki N. Kulaturamaya from Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology. As for your information, CAM has organized this CAM AI Hub webinar series 2024 starting from July until end of this September and will continuously will be also in 2025 and so on. Without further ado, before we start, there are some friendly reminders. So the first one is please turn off your microphone during the session. The second one, feel free to type your questions in the chat box if you have any. And last but not least is the questions will be entertained at the live question and answer session at the end of the webinar by Prof. Nara. About our speaker today, Prof. Dr. Nara. So Prof. Dr. Nara has served for over 3 decades in academia, starting at University Malaysia Sarawak as a pioneering faculty of computer science and information technology faculty. Currently, he is the director of the Institute of Social Informatics and Technological Innovations, ICT, and heads the Borneo Tourist Academy initiative. Prof. Dr. Nara has received his PhD in computer science from Graz University of Technology from Austria, with a strong background in artificial intelligence. Talking about his contribution, he has been recognized as the top research scientist by the Academy of Sciences, Malaysia in 2020. His systems-based approach in the field of AI is outlined in the book Human versus Machine Intelligence, where he describes the design of a values-based humanistic approach as the way forward for future AI systems. With the title of Reimagining Education in the Age of AI, this talk will provide an insight on the future of learning as it transforms itself far too rapidly for us all to adequately prepare ourselves. We will need to be able to strategically rethink our approach to ride the emerging wave and with the hope of being able to stay ahead. This thought-provoking talk calls for the imagining of a future through a balanced approach orchestrated by collective human endeavor. Without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Dr. Nara to start the webinar series.
Okay, thank you very much, Dayang. I think it's a well-prepared document by, on behalf of the organizers. Thanks to CAM for inviting me. Just a minor correction. I'm no longer the director of ECT, right? Now it's Prof. Tan who's the director. And well, otherwise, well, the biodata seem short and succinct. So in a way, it didn't go into too many unnecessary details. So I have to say thank you. And I have to also thank everyone who chose to spend their morning listening to this session on reimagining education in the age of AI. Well, I'm not so sure if you all have been already bored by listening to many different speakers who share different views of AI. So I try not to repeat those things. And well, let's see if I can inspire you. So this talk is not about me, actually. It's really about all of you, right? It's about how we see AI as a platform, as a tool, as an instrument, as a capability enabler, right? So we need to see AI as something that is available to us all of a sudden, and right now we need to become the leaders because everybody else is also trying to become the leaders, or I mean, in a way, totally unsure what it's all about, right? So we have to make the effort, try to see what this is all about, and I'll try to give you different perspectives, and hopefully we can you have a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and we need to write things, and I want to hear you all share what well, you think the future is going to be, so that we could all co-create a future of education in the age of AI, right? So actually, I can change the topic of the title of this talk to Reimagining Life in the Age of AI, Reimagining Learning in the Age of AI. So it all is the same talk, but with a different cover, right? Because there's no difference, because education, life, learning, all aspects will converge. And that's really what we are seeing today. So this is the start, right? And before I start my talks these days, I like to look at this slide. I really like this slide from Unimas Corporate, because they help us to contextualize the reality around us, right? So we are located in the heart of Borneo. So when we talk about AI, we need to take leadership in the area of AI for Borneo, right? So all the assets that we have in Borneo, the networking, the biodiversities, all these things, the creativity, innovation of the people, all these will connect together to help us realize who we are going to be, what we are going to do, and make sure that whatever we could contribute would become much more meaningful, right? So with that, I will proceed with my talk. Well, the first thing that I'd like to highlight is AI-powered radical shift is real. For those who haven't noticed it, well, please spend some time reading, right? AI-powered radical shift in our life, our well-being, our existence, all this is already there, right? So what we want to do is, we don't want to be just observers. We want to be people who say, let us take stock of what is available before us. Let us see if we could make the most of it, to become leaders, to ride the new wave, to emerge, to make full use of emerging knowledge engineering pipelines, right? I mean, I use a bombastic word here, knowledge engineering pipelines, because ChatGPT and all the generative AI that we are seeing, it just gives us an answer, right? It just gives us an answer. The beautiful thing about this answer is the answer studies what the human is looking for. So the answer that a human is ready to accept, right? So there is a knowledge engineering pipeline in the background available in our handphones, available in whatever device we are using. That knowledge engineering pipeline can give us just the answer that the person next to us is looking for, right? So this is really the reality that we are facing. I'm not saying this AI is clever. I'm not talking about anything of those things, right? Whatever this AI is supposed to be, it is giving us the answer our neighbor or our stakeholder is looking for. So right now, once we know the reality of our life has changed, and we want to aspire to be somebody who's going to make an impact on the life of everybody, right? So once we have decided that, well, as an agenda for the talk, I'd like to put question marks. I think that shows my age as well. As you reach an age of 60, you try to not give answers, but try to prompt, or you try to trigger questions from the audience, questions that will change the way you see things, right? So that's really what this talk is going to be all about, right? So with that, I will start with some history, right? Okay, well, this was a slide I used in 2018 as well. I think, well, I was preparing for my inaugural talk at that time, right? So I was just trying to see what is AI all about. When I started teaching AI in 1991, that's the first time I taught AI, right? Well, I don't know, that seems like many generations ago, right? Well, we were just saying, if it works, it's not AI. So that is the definition. If it works, it's computer science. If it doesn't work, then there is a need to do research, need to explore what intelligence is all about, need to make it mimic what the human does, right? Systems that appear to be intelligent. So we started like that. And as life evolved, the definitions of AI also evolved. And well, people started seeing the importance of performing tasks, right? How AI could come into our lives, so that is the start. I think 2000 onwards, we see people start experiencing AI in their lives already, right? But very few people, not as many as now, right? So then we moved on to simulation of human intelligence processes, right? I mean, this is where the industry took on, but the chasm, AI chasm was still there. There was a big gap. There was a gap between AI in the labs and the industries, selected industries, and AI in the rest of the world was still there, right? But as AI evolved, AI became intelligent agents that perceives environment and decides on potentially successful actions. This is where the Googles and all the big guys, I mean, all the leaders of AI came. I mean, they came to control the world by using AI as a tool, right? So now, right now, we are moving to the next era. In the next era, beyond all this, we are seeing democratization of AI in everyone's pocket. Okay, when I say AI in everyone's pocket, doesn't mean that 7 billion people have AI in their pockets. It's only probably a small fraction, maybe a few 100,000 people, maybe a few million people maximum, not more than that, are influenced by AI directly. So all the other people are only influenced indirectly. So you can see we are just at the very beginning of an S-curve, right? And this slide I like to repeat in all my talks these days. Everything is no longer the same after 30th of November 2022, right? So this is the message I tell people. With AI, you could do everything that you couldn't do otherwise. I mean, these are some of the talks that I was invited to do. But more importantly, Nara being poetic, unimaginable. So I just asked ChatGPT to help me. Can you write a poem for me? And ChatGPT was kind enough to say, Hujan turun di tanah Borneo. I asked about Borneo. I said my talk is about innovation, AI, So it cleverly said these things. So it says, masyarakat hidup penuh kegembiraan. Teknologi baru memberi manfaat yang serba boleh, asalkan diguna dengan bijak dan berhikmat. But I know this is not Nara writing. I know this is ChatGPT writing. So what I do is I take the input from ChatGPT. I said, okay, can Nara make it sound more like what he will sound like? Well, it is possible for you to take what AI gives you, and now this is like what Nara likes to talk about, Hujan ilmuwan di bumi kenyalan. Harapan masa depan sungguh gemilang. Right? Teknologi baru memang serba boleh, asalkan digunakan dengan bijak dan berhikmat. So you can see, you don't know where's the ChatGPT, you don't know where's the Nara, but it sounds like what I normally say, or at least my intonations vary. So you know that with the power of technology, you could look cleverer than who you really are, right? So this is the point that I want to start with. And you see, the things that you definitely will struggle to do and will take 6 months or 1 year to learn could be done instantly, right? People thought that creative jobs will not be affected by AI. Sorry, my friend, you're very wrong. Creative jobs are the first to go because AI knows how to pretend to be creative, right? And AI's ability to pretend to be creative is so good that the humans are deceived, right? So this is really the reality that is staring at us, right? So with that, well, I don't want to go on like a lecture. So maybe I just open the floor. Any comments from from the participants, right? Is there any comments, anything that you want to share that will help me contextualize how I'm going to go about with the next slide? I'm seeing 20 familiar faces, 43 people. I don't know if that's norm or it's more or less than the normal, right? 44 people, right? So thank you for joining. And well, since nobody's energized enough to start typing, well, I don't want to call names. Does anybody want to share something, or you want to type something? Up to you, right? You want to share something, or shall I go on further?
Is there anyone? I don't think there's one. So maybe Prof
I'll
can.
proceed. Yeah, I'll just proceed. Yeah. Maybe I'll call names after this, right? So you all better be sitting in your places, right? Sorry about that, right? Okay, now one of the things that I think most of you would have realized, I mean, this, I'm probably boring you because you've seen this slide many times. ChatGPT did in 5 days what Spotify did in 150 days, you know, or Facebook did in a couple of years or something, you know. So you see, ChatGPT already surprised all of us by the take up, right? So the potential of this tool is already realized, right? So I think that's one thing that we need to understand, that when people catch on to this new instrument, immediately you become more like an intelligent person, you know. So you can see you become able to do something. You have a knowledge base in your pocket. You have got creative answers to things that will take you a long time to find out. You also have got answers for decision makers, you know. So I'm looking at an engineering system, AI as a supporter of an engineering system, which I'm able to model, right? And you see, more importantly, AI helps me to control resources, right? So if I can control my entire class by just pressing a single button, wouldn't that be good? And that is what is available to you, right? So this is where we start. Okay, so the title of today's talk is Reimagining Education in the Age of AI. Okay, so please take the paper that I hope you all have in front of you. Well, start writing questions, right? Because I think, well, I know all of you are very humble. You don't want to ask, right? So please write down at least one question. And this is what I do in my class these days, because face-to-face means I can see your eyes. But with work from home or, you know, online, I cannot see your eyes. I can only see a few people, right? So you see, I want to see you in your question, right? So from your question, we will have a very engaging 2-hour session, and that's really what I want to do. So hopefully, well, when the time comes, I will ask you to send your question. Okay, now you can find out whether your question found an answer in what I'm going to share with you next, but you all need to write at least one question in your mind about AI. Okay, ask me something that I don't know the answer. That's really what I would prefer to. And I'm not going to involve ChatGPT in this session. I'm not going to ask ChatGPT an answer, and I'm not going to tell you. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to answer from my experience, even if I do not know the answer. Right? So let's co-create the answer together, so that we will all learn together. So that's really what I'm hoping we will be able to do, right? So with that, I hope all of you have written a question down, and I look forward to an engaging session, right? Okay, for education and learning, we already see this. Harvard is using ChatGPT. You know, all these things you would already have come across, right? Well, I see my son, who's a computer science undergraduate student. I see the way he looks at ChatGPT to do his work, right? So it is possible for someone to do an FYP in a month. What do you need? 2 semesters. So this is the understanding of when I look at how he works with AI, he doesn't work with AI as a single person. He works with AI as a multi-dimensional ecosystem of many, many bots. He says, this bot do this for me, this bot do this for me. And then he combines it. He's sometimes able to reach a level of a master's student, despite that he's at an undergraduate level. Why? Very simple reason. The helper he has, I would have dreamt of having when I was younger. I didn't have all those helpers. He has more helpers. I think life is very unfair to the current generation. They have all the helpers in the world, right? So you can do a degree program. So in a way, when you reimagine education, the question that must be in your mind, start writing questions like this. What does the reimagining of education look like? Right? So you can ask a question, do we need a 4-year curriculum? Do we need a 3-year curriculum? So write down these questions and hopefully we can answer all of this together. I think some of the questions you all already have thought of the answers. So we can share together how we can build a framework for AI-based leadership in UNIMAS. So how good we are going to be is based on how rich the thinking of a core group of scientists. So all of you are a core group of scientists. You can be social scientists, but you're still a scientist, right? So a core group of scientists can think together to become, leaders who would dare to pioneer in areas other people say, well, that's too much work. There's nothing in the world that you can say is too much work, because everything in the world can be structured as a workflow. Means you can turn it into something ChatGPT can help you, or any of the AI tools can help you, or human compared with AI can solve it much, much, much more faster than it was ever done before, right? So I hope that I've repeated some of the messages clearly such that it will do some brainwashing, right? Okay, now this is after ChatGPT. I was asked to do a talk to students from China, right? I mean, postgrad students from China. I mean, it was a research methodology talk, right? Well, the talk was called ChatGPT for graduate students, but it turned out to be research methodology with the help of ChatGPT for graduate students. So it turned out the other way around based on the assignments that we did in a class. So what we got the students to do an exercise. But you see, the thing is, when we engaged the students from China, it was a culture shock, because these students worked in a different country with different norms. And when they came to Malaysia, they were struggling, because here we expected students to be independent, right? So here there was a difference in the way we dealt with students, and so they faced a lot of difficulties. So they were struggling with research methodology based on whatever their past they have learned. Coming to a research methodology in a foreign country was something alien to them. So what we did was we worked together, co-created a research methodology where we proposed the research project with the help of, human discussions, thinking, personal thinking. So you can do that, right? So then you define the problem. Once you define the problem, then you can use ChatGPT, Bing Chat, whatever tool to kind of refine the goal. So what happens is, some of the students ask me, is it ethical to use ChatGPT in this way, right? Now, you have to treat ChatGPT as a friend. When it comes to research like this, if you treat it as a friend and don't take whatever input it gives you as your output, right? The input of ChatGPT should not be your output. Otherwise, it's plagiarism, right? So you have to take the input, digest it, think yourself, and come up with an output. Then it's acceptable, right? So then you go to literature review. Even here, there are tools like Consensus, which I use a lot. So I do not know if you all have even better tools these days, right? So this tool is fantastic. It can help me to do literature review. I stopped going to the library long time already because of availability of tools like this, right? So then you focus and refine the topic. So things that will take 1 year to do for graduate students can be done by one workshop and maybe a month, right? And the students can do their proposal defense in a month now, right? So I'm challenging status quo in every way, right? So it doesn't mean that the student, once they get this, their job is done. Their job is not done, right? When students become clever enough to do this, their lecturers, their mentors, their supervisors must be one step ahead, right? Being one step ahead, you should have come up with this answer 2 months before the student does, and you should already guide them along, and you should be able to have your own groups where human plus machine don't only work independently. They collaborate and refine the outcomes together, right? So this is really what I am suggesting as a way forward, right? But my talk is not about this. My talk is about going beyond this. So what I want to ask you all is there any question about the use of this tool? Because this is a direct implication in your classes. Any questions? I see Prof. Tan is also there, right? So this workshop we did together, right? Any comments, anything to add from any of you?
Nara, Edmund here, if I may.
Yes, Edmund, good to see you.
I'm glad you are giving this talk. I'm really very glad I'll be attending this series of this. Not to say that the other talks were not so good, but they were more focused on technological transformation and technological adoption, which is fine, but in the long run, it gets a bit dry. So you have given us a fresh perspective on discussing this AI stuff. I'm not an AI expert, but I've been using it somewhat in both the teaching and research. And I'm glad you also said that we are not going to talk so much about ChatGPT. I think my question is a little bit, my statement or question is a little bit more philosophical than technological. I believe that there should be a cultural revolution in terms of AI rather than every day we are talking about technological transformation and digital transformation and so on. Now, why do I say that? Because I think our AI has moved very fast, but the human users of AI are not ready to accept AI. I would like to base this on somewhat my own personal experience. You know, we develop research tools using AI. We team up with people who are in AI. We develop them using explainable AI and so on. But our tools do not get the receptivity of the human users, because when you tell people that you're using AI to do something, the human first impression is it reliable? Now, I think my example, I have to be a little bit more specific. I'm in biomedical research. And when we develop a risk assessment toolkit using artificial intelligence, we introduce it to the public and sometimes even to our own colleagues. They said, betul ke? They rather let the doctor check them. They don't want AI to check them. And the thing is, if you use the design that we have, it always falls back like, how can artificial intelligence be as clever as a human? In this case, let's say a doctor. I don't admit that we want to belittle the medical profession, but like you said, we have to go beyond. I think in time, human has to start believing that AI can do much more than human can do, and we have to actually do it together with them. So my question to you now is, I think, do you think it's right to focus more now in this era on the cultural revolution of this, rather than, you know, trying to get human into this technological transformation? That's my question. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. Edmund. I think it's a very pertinent question, very, very important for us to answer this, right? Well, do we trust AI? I mean, that's a very difficult question to answer. Well, if you ask me, what I'll do is I'll just replace the question mark with an exclamation mark. Don't trust AI, right? Don't trust anything AI says. This is really what I will tell students. Why? Because AI is shallow AI. It is only a narrow form of intelligence, right? Having a narrow form of intelligence telling you what is right, and you do not validate it by your own intelligence, that is not good enough, right? So your friends are right in some sense, right? So I'm not fully agreeing to it, but don't write off AI even if you don't trust it, right? So I hope you all can take these sentences, don't write off AI's input even if you do not trust it fully, right? So this is really what I would share with you and all your colleagues, because the most important thing when we bridge the gap, we need to bridge the gap between the haves and the don't haves. What is more important is not a technological revolution, but a cultural revolution. It's extremely important to have a cultural revolution, because I think we are already at a point where not only the technological researchers, advancement researchers or the scientists, not only they have a role to play, everyone has a role to play. If you have a family, you have a role to play. Cultural revolution is more important in your family than technological revolution. Technological revolution, you cannot compete with your children. They will go faster, right? So you have to balance it through a harmonization, right? Harmonization through cultural revolution. So sorry if I'm using bombastic words, but this is the only way forward. Start with your family, start with yourself first, start then to your family, and then go to your class, go to your neighborhood, and then go to a bigger picture, your scientific community. So every aspect of your orbit, right, of interaction must be touched by your cultural revolution. So your interactions, your explorations in cultural revolution is your journey. And don't lose the opportunity to write about it. Talk to friends, write about it as a group. This will be what the future eBarrio is going to be. The previous eBarrio was about technology, how it can bridge the digital divide. Now you're talking about a cultural revolution that is going to bridge the digital divide. So don't lose the opportunity. Fantastic question. Thank you. And I hope all of you will build on from here, right? I mean, we are facing a situation where the tools are evolving, right? So you can imagine, I can translate instantly, I can draw diagrams. All these things are just unimaginable. But never forget that the probability of ChatGPT generating a particular word, when you say the cat jumped over if it is, it will say fence with 15%, about 15% of the time, table 10% of the time. So you can imagine context decides what AI says as an answer. So if you want to trust AI, I would be very wary, because when it is using statistics to select the answer to give you, this is where the danger. So even if your friends tell you we can't trust AI, you tell them I totally agree, right? But tell them how can we take AI's answer and make it trustworthy? Okay, in the same way, people, if you say a robot is going to operate on you, I will say sorry. Even though robots have a much more precise ability to perform operation, it's just that we are not used to it, right? So in the same way, you'll find that people will not get used to accepting AI, but that is not the only reason. Here, the robot has not been fully tested on critical situations. So don't take a risk, go one step, and every time you face a question, someone says, I don't trust, you tell them, thank you very much. Now I have a cultural revolution paper to write about. Every time someone doesn't trust you, that is an opportunity for you to write a paper, right? So look at these opportunities willingly, optimistically, right? So this is really what I want to share with you. And see, as I am also trying to understand AI, I want to be able to have a proper understanding. I'm listening to Mustafa Sulaiman, who's the chief CEO of Microsoft AI, So I'm listening to all these chat GPT talks on, Python, and when I'm going through all this, we are going to lose jobs to AI. That cannot be helped, right? But humans must upskill themselves, upscale their capacity by using tools that are currently available now, right? At the same time, you must also look at the power of translational media. The natural language of AI is powerful, right? So this natural language gives you answers in your own natural language, right? So this is what is a big power, and you find that we are able to take these inputs from AI, this capacity to bridge our weaknesses, our gaps into scenarios that will disrupt life, colonize our thinking, redefine world order. So it's all as far as you go, right? So your cultural revolution can become a true revolution if you can colonize everybody's thinking with your new software, right? So you see, but you have to be warned. While we have the opportunity to be able to colonize others with our capacity to think, the danger of us falling back by the thinking of others who are going to colonize us much more because they have more resources is very, very possible and much more likely, right? So this is a follow-on from the discussion just now. I mean, a kind of summary of what AI is today. So I'm not going into the future yet. So this is the current, the deepening inequalities. I already talked about it. It's not about wealth distribution. It is about access to knowledge. It is about access to knowledge just in time. It's about access to knowledge much faster than anybody else. Access to knowledge yesterday when the problem is going to happen tomorrow. So it's all these things that is going to deepen inequalities beyond whatever we imagine, right? So the innovation chasm is something that, I talked about in another presentation, but I just roughly will just give you an overview. The knowledge generators, the people who are generating the knowledge like OpenAI, all these people and you and I as users of the knowledge, the gap is huge because whenever we do a search, we help these companies to become richer in terms of their knowledge base. Imagine 1 billion people giving free knowledge to a company, how rich they are. The gap between the knowledge generators, the knowledge owners, and the vulnerable communities who are happy with ABCDs of decision making is a world scale chasm, right? So we are facing a big challenge. And as we face this challenge, we need to understand what the scope of the cultural revolution, if you want to call it by those words, we already have a framing for what we want to do in future. So all of your research topics that you have must take into consideration this big picture, right? So if you all are researchers in the area of AI, you must take, okay, I was just looking at an advertisement today. Someone says, advertisement for postgraduate studies in the area of social aspects of AI, right? So there's no field, any field at all that is not going to be directly or indirectly touched by AI. Every field must do research in AI. Every area must look at ways of enhancing, capitalizing, creating value from every aspect of the knowledge that you can generate on the fly, rapidly, repurposable, repeatably, right? So all these things that is suddenly available to us is creating a chasm. And if we don't do anything about it, once again, we're going to be consumers, we're not going to be producers, right? So I always fight for turning Malaysia into a producer nation for IT, ICTs, but we're still falling back, right? So with thinkers like yourself, we can make a change. So really, this is the call for this talk. When I say reimagining education, all of you are the leaders, all of you are the game changers. right? So we want to be able to ask ourselves, how can AI augment human capacity? How can AI-powered human capacity make you a superhero, right? So with this, I will ask you all to start sharing your thoughts, right? Or your questions. Your thoughts or your questions, please share on the chat screen, or you want to speak like what Edmund did just now, please do the same.
Hi, Prof.
Yes.
This is Mai from FSKPM.
Yes, Mai. Long
How
time
are
no see.
you? Yeah, I'm just back from second.
Good to have you back in the US.
Yeah, thank you so much. When I was outside, I was so impressed at how fast UNIMAS is. Sometimes we don't realize it when we're inside. We realize it when we are outside, because when we are outside, we are the third party, like a bystander watching. So kudos to UNIMAS. I'm so happy and I'm so proud. So I have a question from with regards to AI, since the state government, where I was seconded to, is also so much into this. However, I think there is a lack of technology and lack of experts over there. That's where UNIMAS can help. So my question is, I have studied some AI when I was doing my master's in UK in 1995. At that particular time, Professor Nigel Shadbolt, who was among the first professors in AI, his specialization was expert system at that time, or KBS, we call it knowledge-based system at that particular time. Now, he coined one question that I think is not resolved even until today, talking about 30 years onwards from that time in 1995. He said, my only worry about AI is because it is a self-learning entity. It's an entity that can learn by itself. You know, what kind of ethics and moral danger can that impose on us? So that's something that I think even have been echoed by Elon Musk as well. So that is just something that I've been having in my mind since we are using AI, even in our psychology and behavior research. We are looking at the potential of studying how AI can impact the behavior, and or how human beings can work together with AI to that level of where it involves emotions or behavior, or personality. How would that kind of concoction be for the world? So that is, yes, learn by itself. If you're talking about there'll be a level that this is what he will reach about. There'll be a level where AI is so genius that it could learn everything by itself. It becomes like another human. And that's what he said in 1995. So what is your take and what is your perspective on this matter? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think this is, well, I have a talk on ethics, actually. I prepared a talk on ethics, which will take another 2 hours. I'm not going to go into ethics, but I just want to go on to your first statement, AI learning by itself. Okay, there are 3 types of AI system. The first is artificial narrow intelligence. All AI systems of today, including the cleverest system that helps you, is only narrow intelligence. Artificial general intelligence is what you and I have the capacity to do, right? We all have consciousness. AI does not have consciousness, right? And there is a third type of intelligence, narrow, general, and super intelligence. Artificial super intelligence is only what you see in science fiction, right? So I'm not worried about what you say, because I know the science fiction aspects of AI is still not there yet, right? So AI learning by itself, that is artificial general intelligence. AGI is not there yet, fortunately. Right? Fortunately, it's not there. So then you see all the things that's happening around us. Everything is changing. I told you, there's nothing that will remain the same, but it is still artificial narrow intelligence. Okay, when you have artificial narrow intelligence that you use 100 times in a variety of ways in your workflow, the AI system put together with the human in the loop pretends to be much cleverer than the AI system. AI system cannot think by itself yet, right? So this is the reality. What your colleague talked about in 1999 is not there yet. So artificial narrow intelligence is where we are. But artificial narrow intelligence that pretends to be artificial super intelligence is the danger, right? So why are people talking about ethics more and more? The reason is because without ethics, the pretenders will rule our lives, right? So this is where we are today. I hope I didn't disappoint you with my answer, but this is as much as I am aware. And you see, the thing is now I cannot answer your question by just being an AI researcher. I have to go and start meditating because I have to understand what is this human consciousness all about. At least I must have, there's no way out. All of you have to understand what the human capacity is all about. Then only you can answer, is AI this, is AI that, is AI not exactly this only way. So I'm asking all of you, go to the church, go to the mosque, go and pray, go do your inner journey, and through your inner journey, contextualize AI the way it should be. And you won't be too worried about it. We still have an age, right? But the problem is when many humans are in the loop and AI is showing its face to you, you are going to be in trouble, right? So that's where we are. And ethics, as you mentioned, is the key. And ethics, I won't go into it now, but I can tell you what ethics is going to be all about. We need to do reflectivity in ethics. Those who are ethics researchers, reflectivity means two levels of, reflectivity, you engage the community and then you allow them to reflect and then you see what they perform and then you assess it again, right? So this is really the kind of exploration that we are looking at in terms of ethics. There's a need for a humanistic approach to AI, which Edmund calls it cultural revolution, right? So this is really what we need to have, right? And it will also involve ethics, right? So now is the time for us to answer the question. What do you think we need to do? So you can mention I think the answer to you is we need to have a research group that just looks at the ethics of protecting or safeguarding human interest, right? So you see, this is really what I will suggest to all of you. You are already opening up a wonderful list of possibilities. So keep adding things to your list of possibilities. Even though AI is not learning for itself yet, we still have many issues where ethics is going to be a key, right? So this is where we are. And before I proceed, I think I want to hear all of you share with me, right? I think I'll show you this slide and all of you take a piece of paper and write down. And those who you already have a question, please put your questions in your chat. I think later we can compile the questions and it will be starting points for our next talk or, next sessions where UNIMAS need to have a think tank on reimagining education, right? The think tank that's going to lead that initiative will have to be CALM, and CALM is already taking the lead here. So you need to look at what are questions. So if you all have questions that will help CALM to decide how value co-creation in the future computing powered scenarios, future AI powered world is going to be, right? So here, my talk, I just gave you a big picture. I talk about bridging already, and I'm giving you hints on collaborative research and facilitated publications. Now, this is really where we are now in this talk, right? So in this talk, I need to see if you all have any thoughts you want to share with me? Well, I heard already 2 thoughts, very inspiring, right? So if any of you want to type something, I see that you all are more easier to talk than to type something. So it's fine. So I just let's listen to one more feedback from you. Silence means no problems in your mind, right? Okay. Oh, sure, nobody wants to share something?
Prof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just an insight that came. There have been many of my friends who are in AI who want to program AI that can do the work of diagnosing and the work that we call it advanced psychological expertise, which is normally only performable by licensed psychologists. So I think that the hindrance with this kind of approach is it faces a lot of obstacle from the psychologists, because if you want to program an AI who can diagnose, for example, mental illness, so you want to learn AI technology, and at the same time you also want to learn to be a diagnoser, and that is currently the expert community is not open to that. I think this kind of dilemma could be universal, especially when AI want to be developed for other kind of higher order analysis that involve higher expertise. However, having said that, there is a lot of market for graduates who can do that, who can develop AI system at the same time understand the higher order scientific expertise. I don't know what this would bring in the future, but I'm seeing that AI has been rocking even the professional fields. All this while only clinical psychologists or psychiatrists could diagnose, right? Now we are saying that, some AI students in advanced AI programs such as master's, PhD, now they're developing AI system, and therefore they want to learn how to diagnose. Currently, a lot of obstacles, yeah. But I'm seeing that this trend is constantly is something that we constantly face all over the world, and I think it's beyond even one field. It cut across all those content fields, and it's rocking the professional world. Well, just sharing what
right. You are absolutely right. Well, we need to have more programs in AI for sure, right? And well, when you say not necessarily large language model, I mean, it could be an educational program, right? It could be an educational program which makes use of AI instruments or makes use of media produced by AI, right? So we're going to need com science people to think of the technicalities, but we are also going to need AI-based thinkers, I mean, AI-based researchers who work together with all the other field, right? So we're going to need thinkers, more thinkers here. We're also going to need people who care for users. We're going to need people who are going to govern AI. We're going to need AI plus something, We're going to have people who are going to do a program which is no longer just psychology. So you're going to have people who come into a program which is AI plus psychology, So you're going to see new forms of education streams. No choice. This is going to happen, right? So if you are smart to package a program as a gap filler, this is your time, right? So I will say, please proceed. And the programming of AI to do something more effectively with a higher performance than anything that we are putting up with today as enough, right? You already have a business model. You have already a business case for yourself, right? So this is my advice to you all. Well, if you have some inclination, some initial thoughts, please proceed. Okay, don't do it alone. This is my only suggestion. Don't do it single disciplinary, do it multidisciplinary. Don't do it multidisciplinary, do it transdisciplinary, right? So if you can, do it in such a way that you can combine the benefits of working together as a team, as what Unimas used to do before, right? In all our previous community projects. Any other questions, follow up to that? Right? Okay, this is really the core of whatever we're going to shape. One is, okay, one very important outcome already is here. I mean, apart from the other two questions that we saw earlier, right? So this is important now. Is there something that you all feel you need to share? Otherwise, I will continue with the final part of my talk. Right now, I have about 1 hour left for the second part. Anything more? Hi, Prof. I just got back from my PhD and doing this thesis writing. I'm using ChatGPT to help me my writing. All right. So how about it helps me form sentences, plan my layout, but at the same time, I have to lead it to write what I want to highlight in my writing. It cannot 100% replace me. I still need to screen through it. So I think AI is helpful, somewhat like my assistant, but there is a limitation. I still need to teach it. Maybe I can help to explain this. All right, now, well, there's a lot of thinking put into what you're just saying, right? AI as a helper, that I will say is one step in the evolution of AI is going to become useful in our lives, right? AI is going to be useful in our lives because it can be a helper that provides knowledge, right? Because we can't look for knowledge throughout the whole web. We can't go and look for knowledge from many of the books that have been summarized by ChatGPT or other tools, right? So it can give us answers. So AI as helper, AI as someone who gives us answer is the first use. But AI can do more. You can see AI as a friend, right? So if you see AI as a friend, it can sometimes, I see people doing this, but you have to be watching out as well, because everything that you share to this AI tool, and it's not in a private mode. I mean, some people say private mode, even private mode goes to the company and comes back, right? So whatever you send to them is something that you really want to be sure that you are not influencing the thought, right? So in some sense, I'm always holding back like this, but as I realized there are many other people thinking like me and they just didn't bother. They just gave the knowledge. So whatever I'm thinking of asking, AI ends up being clever enough to tell me something that is slightly one step, more than what I'm thinking from another perspective, right? So from my own perspective, I will know the inquiry level of detail, right? So you see, what I'm telling you is be a controller of your own thoughts. Be a controller of your own thought flow. Be a controller and manager and a governor of your research pathway, right? All these, you must be the boss. AI should be a supporter, right? So please remember that. I mean, this is really my advice to you. Since you asked a question like this, I have to say, AI cannot replace you 100%. You are absolutely right? So use it wisely as only a helper, right? So this is the first step towards using these tools and making full use of the capacity, right? So you see, when we talk about education should help you to bring your capacity to become capabilities, right? So your capacity to become capabilities is really what you are thinking of when you translate your capacity to become capabilities. This is where AI should be helping you, right? Okay, let's say sometimes you don't know another language, AI can translate for you, right? So as you translate your capacity to achieve something into a capability that you couldn't do, right? So this is the second helping aspect of AI. First helping, it is just providing knowledge. Second helping is it is a tool that translates your capacity into a capability. Now your capability, reword it, recontextualize it, re-individualize it, make sure that it is yours when you put it out in your thesis. Make sure it is yours when you put it out in a paper, right? So this is my advice to you. Use AI as much as you need, but re-personalize it. No, I mean, personalize it completely, right? So this is really what I want to share with all of you. And thank you for that question. Right? So I will proceed with my talk. Right now, you see, just now Maya was talking about ethics. When we see companies are trying to control every aspect of our life, and because they need to control, they are telling you future of business is AI powered. It is true. It's going to be AI powered. With AI, you can do many more things that you couldn't do before, right? So they will tell you all these things and many more things it can do. But AI, there are game-changing dimensions. Just now we talked about cultural revolution, right? Cultural revolution is not even listed in my slide on the right-hand side. Okay, well, this is from one of the organizations. They talk about ethics and law. They talk about risks. They talk about AI literacy. They talk about work organization. They talk about algorithmic decision making. Now, there are supportive areas which is not listed here. That's really what I want to tell you all. These are starting points that everybody has an input, right? But what you can start doing is, look at one area adjacent to this and try to look at how you can go into deeper way of analyzing AI's future as a game changer, right? Right? So we move on. Okay, now we normally see AI, everybody says technology platform, especially for you. It can help you to do something that you need. You know, some people are saying, I don't have a friend, AI is my only friend. This is also happening. AI is going to contribute to a higher level of suicides, because when you over rely on a non-human, you cannot predict the outcomes, right? So technological platform, especially for you, is already there, but the dangers are not fully explored. So what we're going to need is, we're going to look at responsible innovation and research. And we need to move from current technology for the sake of technology for the sake of being a helper, technology for the sake of helping you do something which is your capability, but it was not realized before. This is really what AI can do, but without the ethics, without the responsible way of innovation, it is going to be dangerous, right? So that is the next aspect. And lastly, how can this responsible innovation and research that we can realize through AI can help us realize the aspired life change? You can become a game changer and AI can help you, right? So that's really what I have proposed as a kind of pathway, right? This is a pathway that I have been analyzing AI since the 1987, since I heard about AI, right? So based on what I've seen, I can tell you that it has lots of promise, though it is just artificial neurointelligence. It has lots of promise, and it can embed into every aspect of your life to make you a better person, right? So what I have done so far, I'm trying to help you to see that AI as a helper is one stage. And then we go into AI as a supporter of creative thinking, right? To bring out a capability. That was the second. And the third one I'm telling you is AISU. I was listening to the CEO of Microsoft AI, and I realized that Microsoft already is thinking this way, right? So they are looking at AISU. I mean, it may be bad, it may be the worst thing that could happen, but that is the reality, and it is already a research pathway in some big companies already, right? So I'm warning you, AISU is closer to your home, might be already in your pocket, but it's closer to your home, right? So please take note of this is something that we need to be very about. And at the same time, when you listen to news, they tell you AI is a 600 billion question, and it is not delivering the promise. Netflix is giving money to people who are investors, but AI has failed. People are going to tell you all this. Don't believe all of them. That is because somebody put in $14 billion and they didn't get back anything yet. They are impatient, right? So if you want to become a world leader, you got to put in that kind of money and be patient, right? Whether you need to put in that kind of money, it all depends on how many minds are thinking together with you. If you have 10 million people thinking together with you, you don't have to put that much, right? So it's really about how you harness your resources, and people will tell you all these stories. Don't believe them. AI has the potential to help us to re-engineer our education, right? So that's the message that I want to highlight. And this is really some quotes that I want to share. Together, all of this goes beyond AI. It's personal intelligence. It's the next big step for Apple, right? So the big companies, why they are putting in billions of dollars. They already see generative AI at the scale of human curiosity, right? So there are two angles to this. Alphabet is saying this, right? So you can say one, Nara says it's only artificial narrow intelligence, but people are talking about human curiosity. Well, that's because to be a human, sometimes your expectation is you don't even need general intelligence. If many pieces of narrow intelligence is good enough to look like human. So in a way, you need to question your very being. We are going to give in room for these big companies to say, don't worry, you don't need to structure your knowledge. We will think for you, right? So this is what all these big companies are waiting to do, right? So we need to be careful because we shouldn't make our students consumers of this kind of thought flows, thought patterns, philosophy, ideas, which are going to be dangerous, is going to kill our nations. The future world leader is one who will control the technologies, right? Not the one who happily uses it, right? So this is another point that I want to highlight. So having said that, how would we reimagine future of education, right? So I asked ChatGPT to help me, right? Guess what? The generative AI managed to do this for me, right? Generative AI use the words low tech, high touch education, which was given by me because I saw ASM was using the word, and DALL-E 3 drew this for me, right? So this is my answer to all of you, right? This is my answer to all of you. There is traditions in the background, right? There is humanistic interaction. There is face-to-face. Looks exactly what we would have done in the past. But it could be high tech. The tech could be in every object. The tech could be in the tree. The tech could be in the banners that are hanging around, or it could be anywhere, right? So this is one view of the future, right? It is not the right answer. It is one of the possible right answers, right? So I leave you with this this slide and open up the floor for some questions. I have some additional slides with me, which I can share with you based on the questions that you all pose. But I look forward to at least to see how your thought flow is, to see if UNIMAS is moving in the right directions as an observer, right? I would like to see if we are taking the right steps and if there are any immediate follow-ups that we can explore together, right? So this is what I leave you with. So if you have a piece of paper, well, put your thoughts on the paper. If you want to share something or you want to press the mic and start talking, please do so.
Right, if you have any question, can write in the chat box.
Good morning. Prof. Nara, this is Shahidul Islam from Faculty of Engineering.
Yes, Prof.
How are you, Prof?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Oh, that's. Prof, I am using AI in a limited work in my documentation and other. Of course, I am getting benefit and increasing my capacity. But one thing I want to know a little bit from your experience, responsible innovation and research. So how we can use AI efficiently in our research design, implementation, or some, let's say, some mathematical analysis to check or validate our design?
Okay, thank you for that question. Very important question. I hope that you can see this slide. Okay, this was a slide that I showed earlier. So this actually gives you a clue how AI can help, right? Now you see there are a few skills that all of us have to be very good at. One is called prompt engineering, right? How do we use a prompting way of making AI do what we want it to do? So that's number one, despite it giving wrong answers, right? So prompt engineering is a kind of expertise that all of us should have, and every of our students should have this, right? But at the same time, we need to be very good at workflow engineering and workflow modeling, right? So when I say workflow, when I was trying to do a talk for graduate students, I came up with this workflow. Now, you will need to do the same for your own mathematical domain, right? Mathematical research domain, you could have something like this. You could have a second layer of workflow. You can have a third layer of workflow. Now, when you are doing the workflow yourself, your knowledge of years of research will come in to come up with, okay, this is what I really want. Okay, now, if this is what I really want, where can AI help me? Can it help me at step 1? Can it help me at step 2? Can it help me at step 2.1? Can it help me at step 2.2? Right? So we need to see how can AI help in a different, different mode, can it be AI1 talks to AI2 and AI2 gives me the answer? So you need to think of AI1 talks to human talks to AI2, and AI2 ascends to AI3, and AI3 gives me the answer. So you see, your ability to do workflow engineering is a training that all students have to go through, not only graduate students, researchers, the teachers, even people, lay persons, every individual, right? I'm thinking of every individual, every family leaders, right? So everyone needs to have this course. And I think, if I were to do the course on workflow engineering, I could bring a perspective of a computer scientist. So you could also do a course like this. You could bring an engineering perspective. Someone else could bring a totally humanistic perspective, right? So we can bring multiple perspectives together. We can together build even something even more greater, but we must all start doing some aspects of turning into visuals the process of thinking that we normally do within ourselves, right? So this is really the challenge for ourselves. We all know how to solve problems. We all know how to do complex problem solving, but we need to turn it into workflows, and the workflows need to be translated into outcomes. So this is my answer to your question. If I didn't answer it fully, please, Paul, you can question me again.
I got the light and clue. I think I can move little bit on this way. Thank you, Prof. But
You're
my
welcome.
experience with GPT, I use, but it looks as you work efficiently.
Well, it
Yeah,
will
chat.
surprise you. Yeah, it will surprise you because more and more people are giving inputs, right? That's all, right?
Okay.
But be cautious of what it tells you. Don't trust it. And at the same time, create more value by putting it in different parts of your workflow. Put it transparently in your workflow. And if you have the technology, get students to build your own LLM, right? Have your own local version, right? So those are this advice I'm giving to well, young people these days, right? So any other questions?
Any other question from the floor? I think no, in the chat box.
Prof, last month there was a meeting on AI in Rome. The Pope advised the scientists that don't bring AI to that level that will affect the human efforts. So AI should not go beyond the limit of human capital, because this assessment is that will reduce the employment and also sometimes can affect on our skill on thinking. He said that if we use our brain, we use the AI, not using our brain, then slowly our brain efficiency will reduce and capability also reduce. So please, Prof, tell something on his comment.
Okay, so the issue here is dependence, right? Okay, if you overly, okay, it is just a story of human, right? A story of human. What is our role as teacher? Our role of teacher is how can you turn the capacity of the students to turn it into capabilities, right? If this is what our role is, then if we make our students dependent on AI, they will not be the thinkers, right? So same, if we are too dependent on technology, we cannot bring out the best in ourselves. So this is at that level he's sharing that. We need to watch our dependence on technology, on our over reliance on technology to such an extent that when we use a calculator, sometimes people don't even do mental calculations anymore, right? So when you do not do mental calculations and you overly rely on a calculator, you already see this happening in some places where people can't even do basic additions, without a calculator. So this is exactly what he's saying. As with any other technology, when there is over dependence or over reliance, you will find that some of our innate capabilities will be overlooked, they will be compromised, and our capacity to deliver something will be affected in the long run, right? So initially it looks cool, it looks good, it looks like, wow, this is a friend, but watch out. Be sure that your capacities are not affected, and your capacity to translate your innate abilities into something that changes the world, changes the outcomes that you want to see, is not affected in any way, right? So this is my advice to you.
Yes, thank you, Prof. This is my also advice to my student: not depend on mass on the machines.
Well, thank you for
thank
that.
you.
Any other questions? Well, So what I'm saying here is summary of what we discussed. Dependence harms you, right? So any other question?
So, Prof, regarding Prof. Shahidul question just now, so how can we prepare our students for future jobs due to the rapid advancement of this AI? What do you think? How can we prepare them?
We need to do two things actually. One is we need to prepare our students with abilities that help them work with technology beyond just as a friend or as a slave of technology. We must move them from slave of technology to a manager of technology, right? So we need to do that, right? So workflow engineering, as I said, is one example of a technique that should be taught in every training, right? So a prompt engineering must be taught to everybody, right? Workflow engineering must be taught to everybody, right? And some sort of a philosophy where are you in control when you use technology? So this kind of thinking must be with everybody. So we already talked about 3 things that our students must have, right? They must have the ability to know, am I putting myself in danger, right? So we need to teach them ethics, we need to teach them ethical use. We need to teach them abilities to safeguard their own assets, their own, resources, right? So these things have to be taught. But to tell you about what should we really teach our students, we should teach them to be brave about using technology fully. Use technology in such a way nobody else has used it, but be ethical on its use, right? So we need to inspire them to go and dig deep into the full potentials of technology, right? So they must be really, really good enough, and they mustn't only rely on one form of technology. They need to explore varieties of technology, varieties of perspectives, varieties of ways of using these technologies in such a way that they become richer as persons, right? So what we need to do is we need to give them freedom to be themselves. That is very important. We cannot control them because we are slower. We are going to be slower because we are one person and our baggage will slow us down. But if we allow 10 students to explore 10 different ways, give room for them to co-construct higher value. Right? So these are some of the keywords that I gave just now. How to create higher value through the future education. Right? So you see, this is not just like saying that, well, we are going back to the past. We are going back to the beauty and wonders of everything we like in the past. Don't throw them away. Right? Don't throw away all the good things we had in the past. Bring in technology just as much as you need. That is the answer to your question. I mean, your question is very deep, but very important. And I will go to my next slide just to answer your question. Right? See, at the end of the day, you want students to be in the flow state. Right? So this question, well, I got this because I was trying to see, well, this new concept of, you see, when someone is in the flow, they don't think about the external environment. They will just go and finish their job. Even if they don't sleep, they will go and finish their job. That is being in the flow. If a person is a creative person, he will come up with a creative product until he comes up with something that his heart says, yes, this is my product, right? So to be in the flow state is what human beings are capable of, and we should allow this to happen. We should facilitate this to happen. We should trigger this to happen. We should allow this to happen continuously, right? So how can you create this flow state? You must give someone something that they care about. You must give them a long-term vision. I mean, you don't give them means you tell them what to do. You allow them to bring out from themselves something long-term and bring out the capacity to do challenging jobs without sweeping things under the carpet, right? So how can you engage in challenging problem solving long enough because you care about it and you become good at it and you're really good at it. When you become really good at it and then you care about it and you're doing it continuously and there is challenge all the time, you go into a flow state. Okay, now you may say, Nara is trying to be a ulama already, right? Of course I'm trying to be a ulama. Now you see, the thing is, when you are in a spiritual state of mind where you inquire, you go deeper within a process of discovering yourself. You are in a flow state. It's never ending. It is always going. And how can every learning effort become one that is in the flow state? So my answer to the question that you asked, and also to the future of education, is how can you humanize the whole thing? How can you bring out the best in education we've ever seen in our lives? When your body and mind seamlessly connect, leading to intense focus and effortless engagement, often described as being in the zone, and it's accessible to everyone, right? So this is the point that, I mean, if I want to tell you a message to carry forward from this talk, it should be something like this, how you can be in the flow all the time, right? So okay, let's say I play a musical instrument. When I start playing the musical instrument, I forget myself. Despite what happens in the outside, I mean, I forget myself to an extent that times then I create something totally new which doesn't exist. It's part of me already, right? So you see, you can bring out the best in you by fully engaging and involving like this, right? So how can AI be non-intrusive? Okay, non-intrusive enough such that the flow state can be achieved. This is a question, right? How can it be helping and supporting but doesn't intrude? That means your flow is the flow. Your flow is still there. AI is only in the background. And while you're in the flow, it doesn't disturb. But when you need it, you call it, you allow it to add value, right? So this is the question for the future. Reimagining education to allow learners to be in the flow state with technology as a helper, as a creativity enabler, as you, as yourself, as the new you, as the you that has technology just where it should be, right? So this is, well, it looks like a nice finale to a talk, right? So I don't know, I mean, in case you all have questions, I open the floor to questions. So just ponder, let this sink in, and tell me how it relates to you and how you will embed this in your way of life after this. Silence. Any questions?
I think no question from the floor, Prof.
Okay, no question from the floor. It's a good news, but at the same time, well, just for me to leave you at this thought. Okay, well, if you all can take a snapshot of this, make use of the thought-provoking inquiry, which I'm hopefully going to see something that's good coming out of UNIMAS, right? So all of you have the potential to make a difference, right? And it could be whatever area, and I'm already seeing some wonderful science. I mean, I really was fascinated when Prof. Edmund was talking about cultural revolution, right? Cultural revolution is a dream. For me, is a dream. We are a long way from there. But whoever starts first will be the leader, right? So that's about this slide as well. How can you allow students to be in the flow state longer than anybody else, right? So this is, well, it can't happen if you don't do it for yourself, right? So you need to be in that flow state. And, you know, it's like peace, bliss, happiness, joy. And it seems like work is moving, you know, how nice that is, right? So sometimes I joke with people, I just say, I don't do any work. I play games, right? Everything I do is like a game, right? So when you do work as a game, well, sometimes it becomes worship, right? So when you do work without thinking it is work, you allow the flow state to emerge. Right? So before all of you fall asleep, let me move to the next slide, right? So what does all these mean? For the future of learning, we need to jump onto the next S-curve, right? So we need to jump onto the new, okay, for example, in the past, everything was online. Now everything seems to be going on, everything was offline in the past, right? Now everything seems to be going online, right? In the past, AI was only a helper. Now AI is becoming you. So y'all can draw the S-curve on your piece of paper. If you draw the S-curve, AI as you, how will it help future learners? How will it help your class, right? So you need to ask yourself, are we ready for the paradigm shift? Let's reimagine the future of life learning, right? So, I mean, I don't like the word lifelong learning, so I call it life learning. Learning for life is life learning, right? So how can we turn the current limited education that is not helpful to become a new form of learning that transforms our ability, brings the best in everyone, right? So this is a dream for me, and I leave the dream with all of you. Right? So if any of you want to share a view of what you have just seen in my slide today, you want to say, Nara, do you want to explore this? Please feel free. My email address is nara@unimas.my. I will give you my WhatsApp number. We can collaborate if there is a need to, right? So any one of you are thinking of how can Unimas AI Hub become the leading AI hub for the country and for the region, right? So this is the question we need to ask. And I don't want to tell you the answer because then it is not our answer, right? So let's work on the answer together and let's make life better for everybody, right? Any comments, any questions? If you are thinking of life, this is it. But if you're thinking of moving technology, then this slide will come, right? So, well, you can think of everything AI is today to people. AI as Oracle, provides information predictions. AI as tool, AI as advisor, AI as companion, AI as guardian, AI as mentor, AI as genie, right? So if AI as you is something else that they haven't written here, well, it's something that we can think together.
Prof. Nara, can I ask you a stupid question?
Please, I love stupid questions. That's what teaches me many things.
Okay. At our age, really, I am confused. The definition of life. When we are young, we understood very well what is life. So end of the life, I confused what is life.
Wow. Well, I don't know if this is in the syllabus, but I will try to help.
Okay, bro.
No, no problem. I love your question. And it's, after all, not stupid as you, mentioned earlier. It is too thought-provoking that most people will evade this question, right? What is life? Okay, now, I can't answer this question if you don't scope it, right? If you say life as a student, I can answer, right? Well, because that is easier. Then I can move to life as a person, well, as a knowledge worker. I can answer that question, right? And then if you look at life as a person who starts as a young child, grows, become old, and then goes to the grave. If that is the life that you are talking about, then there are some things that stays with you. You have to focus on the permanent, right? So this is from my spiritual limited knowledge. I can tell you that whatever is permanent is what you hold on to, right? You hold on to what is you that is more permanent than the you that is not permanent or transient. Okay, the Nara who was the dean of the faculty, and then he went to do his PhD in Austria. So which is real? Which is permanent? So Nara as the dean is not the reality, it's relativity. Whereas Nara as a student is more real. Later, after the student, he came back as a director. Is the director real? No, it is also relative, right? After I became the director, then I'm a retired employee of Unimas, So being a retiree, something seemed real. So in life, what is important is to ask ourselves, which of these phases in your life is the real you? If none of the above is you, then who are you? So to ask ourselves who we really are and to get an answer, we say, okay, how do you measure the right answer? The right answer must be more permanent than all the other answers. So this is the simplest systematic answer that I can give you. Okay, now if I know Nara as a human being is more real than all the others, right? Am I a good human being? Am I being useful to everybody? Did I hold on to things and pretend to be a me that is not permanent? Or did I let go of everything and let the beauty, wonder, the divine aspects in me to reveal and help people as much as possible? So in a way, we need to go deeper one step and find out what is the real you in terms of the permanent aspect of you. And the goal of education is to identify yourself with a higher you, right? So this is the goal of education. So in the same way, the goal of life is also to identify yourself with a higher you that you are proud of being after all the learnings in your journey.
Thank you, bro.
You're welcome. Okay, we got a time for 2 more questions only, right? And then I will go to my last slide, which will summarize everything you say. No question? Well, if there are no questions, I will just show you this slide, which we talked about earlier. Okay, now are we able to fill up the question mark with something that will be useful to transform the reality of what AI has become, knowing that it is narrow intelligence, right? How can we turn it into an identity of yourself as a leader, right? So since we talked about identifying yourself with a higher goal, higher aspired state, right? So how can you realize a higher you with something that you put into the question mark? So this is a question that if we can get one answer, then I could conclude it within 10 minutes after that, right? So this is really what I will do. Can I listen to one of you at least about what should we put in the question mark? Any? I see. Nice to see a lot of friends in the list of names, right? So, any one of you want to ask a question that maybe nobody expects would be asked in a talk like this? That's also welcome, right? So, what do you put in the middle? Oh, silence. Well, well, I know many of you are trying to multitask at the same time. I would be doing that as well when I listen to talk. But well, maybe if I want to call somebody, I don't know, I just feel like calling Wang Sui Kyung.
Prof, I think we could put there reimagining capability building.
Reimagining. All right. Now,
Capability building.
okay, that's a good answer. It is general enough to cover all of us, right? It's a good answer. So it's like a process of thinking together. So when you say reimagining, process of thinking together our abilities to make a difference, so maybe thinking together of our capacities as well, so we can start with how we can translate our capacities into capabilities. So there should be two circles there is really what I'm seeing as what you have said. I mean, would this be an answer to your question? I mean, in a way, well, this was the answer. It's not the answer to the question, but this was the answer that I thought. If you want to, look at what to put in the middle, we want to think together something, right? So we want to reimagine learning, and we may call it lifelong intentional learner who puts character, skills, ability, knowledge, and include meta learning. Why? So this should be the answer to reimagining education, right? So I know the topic that I put was very dreamy, but this is the best answer I saw in a slide from somewhere, right? I've inspired by Center of Curriculum Redesign, right? So somebody is thinking in a way, okay, now don't think that this is the best answer. Think of this as a starting point. We can make it even better, right? So this is what I want to share with all of you. So if we conclude this talk with this slide, it's all about putting something in the middle, and what we want to put in the middle should be something rich enough to look at education not only from a single perspective, but also from a multi-dimensional worldview of how it can translate into something really meaningful, right? So why we learn is very important. So it has to start with the questions that we asked just now, right? We must have purpose, agency, identity. Identity is very important. Wealth, social, basic needs, right? So this is, for me, the best answer I've seen so far, right? On reimagining or redesigning of education, right? So having said that, now how does it translate to who we are or what we are going to do, right? So that is the question, right? So what do we do next? Does it relate to us directly? Is it going to make a big impact? So this is the question that we need to start asking ourselves. And do you all have any thoughts you want to share as the final part of this session, right? After this, we will conclude, and I will say thank you to all of you for your attention and well, keeping me engaged in my thinking, right? So I have to say thank you first, but before we say bye-bye, is there something that you want to share based on what we attempted to do today and the broad range of things that we covered in this talk today?
Okay, if you have any question or want to share something, can turn on the mic. Prof, I've seen that you've been in this AI for so many years, like from 1990s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What long-term vision do you have for the role of AI in education over the next 20 years, perhaps? Do you have any idea on what AI can do for the next 20 years in our education?
Well, I thought I answered that question, but you asked just the question for my next slide as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, this is my view of education, right? I see people as life learners. Everyone is included, right? So fully inclusive, starting from baby until you're an adult, you're a worker, everybody is a life learner, right? So when you want to support the life learner with capacity building, right? Capacity building, capacity nurturing, right? So you want to support. That means it's just support, not because the capacity building is inherent. I mean, this happens natural to everyone, right? So the person who's building a capacity will need some sort of a support. So the yellow line there is insufficiently AI is supporting capacity building, right? Insufficiently AI is identifying all of us as life learners, right? And the next step is how do we translate capacity into capabilities, right? So that requires a lot more thinking, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary knowledge is needed on how to transform capacity to become capability. So to answer your question, we need a knowledge pipeline for game changers. And AI in the next 20 years will become more embedded in these processes, right? So the form of AI will change, right? AI can be in the wheel, AI can be in the tree, AI can be in everything. You know, it could be in something that we really care about. It could be in the pixels of the alphabet, you know, it could be in many things. The form may change, but the role in supporting doesn't change, right? Does this answer your question? Well, I know it doesn't answer your question because you're thinking of technology's transformation, right? But what I'm telling you is the role of how a simulative AI is going to be richer. Whether AI becomes cleverer or not is yet to be seen. Right? Okay. I was trying to imagine what does AI actually do that relates to me, right? When I think of myself, I have attention on something, right? I have a fully engrossed attention on one point of thought, and I discover some answer I didn't know before. AI today is not capable of that. So AI can help us to identify live learners, support live learners, profile them, add value, put things on their plate, guide them to capacities, guide them to capabilities. That's what AI can do. But AI doesn't do what I can do when I close my eyes and insight happens. Right? So AI doesn't do something even in the next 20 years. If it is not able to close, if AI can close its eyes and an insight can come out without it referring to past patterns that are transient. If it can do that, then we are going to be in danger. And we're not going to be in danger the way I see technology moving. Technology is connecting everything and giving answers at every point. That is what technology is doing today. Convergence to provide right answer, right place, right time, right moment, right exact thing you need, it is able to do. But how does it cook the knowledge is still borrowing ideas from many humans, right? So it's still borrowing ideas from many humans. So that's why it can bring all to a point. That's fantastic. So AI will do that, but it cannot close its eyes and uncover the strike of lightning that tells this is the answer. And I'm not seeing that yet in any form of AI development. They say quantum computing. No, not that, right? Not yet, right? Not that, not yet, right? So I don't see the answer.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So any other question from the floor? Because we have left another 7 minutes before we end the session. For those who haven't scanned the attendance, we will turn on the QR attendance at the end of the session later, yeah?
Okay, 7 minutes. I show you the last slide.
Okay.
Well, if there's no question, well, I'm not even going to say anything more. I think it's all for us to internalize and create value. Thank you to Calm. Thank you, Diane. I think you have been a big help. Well, that's the end of the talk. Thank you for your attention. And well, look forward to
Thanks, Prof.
interacting.
Thanks, Prof. Take care of your health.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Prof. Kam.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Prof, on behalf of CAM for conducting the excellent webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind words.
Okay.
If there are no more questions, I would like to wrap up our webinar for today. So we trust you have found this sharing valuable to enhance in our teaching portfolio. Hopefully, we can meet again next week on 7th of August, same time, same place, same link with Dr. Johari, another CAM AI Hub 2024 webinar. So thank you so much, Prof, for your time and your insightful sharing. Hopefully we can see you later soon.